Urgent! Dirty Birds fan! Look at what just happened. Nobody saw this coming, huh? But first, make sure to subscribe to the channel because we bring you daily videos with the latest Dirty Birds news, and don't forget to turn on notifications, so you don't miss anything. Falcons owner ready to pay Kirk Cousins millions to ride Pine. With 3 years remaining on a 4-year contract signed 13 months ago, Kirk Cousins is guaranteed nothing in Atlanta in 2025. Well, other than the $27.5 million. Falcons owner Arthur Blank goes for the upcoming season under the terms of that pact. Blank said at the NFL annual meeting in Florida that he understands the situation and peripheral concern around paying a longtime starter more than $2 million per month in 2025 to be the number 2 quarterback behind Michael Penix Jr. As of his most recent one-on-one meeting with Cousins, Blank maintained that's precisely what he plans to do. I think Kirk will do what he needs to do. He'll show up when he needs to show up, Blank said 2 days after head coach Raheem Morris informally dismissed Cousins from voluntary workouts. I think he'll do what his heart and spirit allows him to do. I never see him as being a divisive individual. I don't think it's in him to be that way. With certain personalities, you might worry a little bit. I'm not really worried about that. Cousins turns 37 in August, and in addition to $100 million in guarantees, the Falcons gave him a not-raid clause to sign who was considered the marquee free agent in the 2024 offseason cycle. But suitors are unlikely to part with assets to pick up Cousins' albatross contract unless an injury or unexpected turn of events leads to desperation. Among the potential landing spots for Cousins are the Minnesota Vikings as a backup or competitor to second-year quarterback J.J. McCarthy, selected 2 picks after Penix by the franchise Cousins abandoned in free agency, and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Pittsburgh is changing starting quarterbacks for the 3rd consecutive season, opening the door for Justin Fields' Jets and Russell Wilson Giants to bolt in free agency after both posted winning records for the team last season. The Steelers are on hold for another graybeard free agent, Aaron Rodgers, to decide if he'll join the team for 2025. Minnesota also kicked the tires on bringing in Rodgers, an option that could be revived. Blank claims Atlanta's commitment to Cousins as a number 2 quarterback, as expensive and rare as the arrangement might be, works for the team for at least another season. He said the Falcons are comfortable paying Cousins a premium rate as insurance behind Penix, who had a significant history of major injuries in college and has only started 3 games in the NFL. When you have a starting quarterback, God forbid, even with all the protection the league affords with rules and equipment, etc., players get hurt on occasion. And it could be the quarterback, Blank said, pausing this news, just to say that if you want YouTube to keep recommending the latest Dirty Birds news to you, it's very important that you leave a like on this video. Thanks. Now let's get back to the news. 4 notable former Atlanta Falcons free agents searching for landing spots. The Atlanta Falcons have had 2 very opposite approaches when it comes to their 2024 starters. Almost the entire offense was either already under contract or had been resigned for the 2025 season. Defensively, Atlanta has understandably taken the opposite approach, jettisoning a large number of starters and key role players. It is a wise decision when you consider the 2024 results and how much blame the defense deserves for how the season ended. The Falcons aren't the only team that has shown limited interest in former Atlanta defenders, with a number of key pieces still searching for a landing spot. Matthew Judon, there is an argument to be made at this point the Falcons should consider a reunion. The fact that this is a consideration speaks to how awful the market is at the position and how limited Atlanta's current pass rushing options are. Leonard Floyd is the only clear starting option currently on the roster. Paying Judon to return as a rotational piece on a contract based on incentives would make sense for both sides after the failed trade. Justin Simmons playing alongside Jesse Bates didn't have the results fans were hoping for. It was a clear upgrade over Richie Grant, and that is as nice a sentiment as can be offered of Simmons' time in Atlanta. The best moment was the safety picking off Patrick Mahomes to help put Atlanta in the game against Kansas City. It was a frustrating stint that the team isn't likely going to revisit. Kevin King making a comeback with Atlanta was an underrated story that should give the veteran a second chance. While King isn't a starting option, the veteran can provide help on special teams and improve your team's depth at the corner position. Damone Harris Atlanta's desperation to fix their pass rush has led the team to hold on to players that clearly didn't fit the team's direction. This includes Harris, who is going to have a difficult time finding a landing spot. If you can't crack Atlanta's 2024 defensive rotation with regularity, your NFL future is in peril. Falcons' Raheem Morris explains firing DC Jimmy Lake. Production-based business, the Atlanta Falcons hired Jeff Ulbrich from the New York Jets after just one season of first-time defensive coordinator Jimmy Lake. Between 17 years of friendship, shared core beliefs, a wealth of experience in college football, and a proven track record of handling adversity, Raheem Morris thought Jimmy Lake was his best bet to be the Atlanta Falcons defensive coordinator. As he was introduced as the Falcons' new head coach February 5, 2024, Morris outlined his plan to focus on balance and game management, letting Lake call plays for the first time in the NFL. It was a plan Morris believed in but was forced to scrap after just one season. 6 days after a season-ending loss to the Carolina Panthers, Atlanta announced it parted ways with Lake and defensive line coach Jay Rodgers. Morris said Tuesday at the NFL League meetings in Palm Beach, Florida, he wanted to step back and evaluate the situation, ensuring he didn't rush into a decision. In a statement issued by the Falcons confirming the departure of Lake and Rodgers, Morris said the moves were necessary. He delved further into the subject Tuesday. "We didn't play well enough," Morris said. "It's a production-based business, and as you go through your process, the communication wasn't all the way right. We had to do some things. We had to fix. It just didn't work out, right? Production-based business, and those things happen." The evidence that convinced Morris he was correct didn't ease his emotions. "Those things always hurt. Those things always suck," Morris said. "But you gotta go through the process every single year." Morris' full-season evaluation left him wanting more. He said the Falcons' defense started the year playing somewhat decent, allowing 24 or fewer points in 5 of the first 6 games, but Atlanta's defense hit a lull in the middle of the season. From weeks 7-11, the Falcons allowed 28 points and 383 yards per game. Atlanta entered its Week 12 by ranked number 18 in takeaways and run defense, number 25 in total yards and pass defense, number 26 in scoring, and number 32 dead last in sacks. The Falcons got hot towards the end of the season, Morris said. Over the final 6 games, Atlanta ranked number 5 in total defense, 3rd in sacks 21, tied for 12th in takeaways 8, and number 15 in scoring 24. 8 points per game, even with no sacks. In the season finale and 74 points allowed over the last 2 contests. For its collective body of work, Atlanta finished the season number 15 in run defense, 120, 6 yards allowed per game, number 22 in pass defense, 224, 5 yards allowed per game, number 23 in total defense, 345, 2 yards allowed per game, and number 23 in scoring. 9 points per game. It ended with 31 sacks, the second fewest in the league. But it was some of the hidden metrics that showed just how poor the Falcons' defense was in 2024. The Falcons allowed teams to consistently move the ball and score points, usually with long possessions that limited total yards and points. Atlanta finished as a bottom 5 defense in completion percentage, passing touchdowns allowed, passer rating against, red zone touchdown percentage, scores per drive, and points per drive. Lake's rollercoaster season and Morris' involvement after the bye week may have been part of growing pains for a first-time professional coordinator. But Morris said he has no regrets about hiring an inexperienced play caller. "No, you can't say that," Morris said. "It didn't work out. So I definitely can say that for you. And that's right." The Falcons interviewed 7 candidates to fill Lake's role, and 6 had previous experience calling defensive plays in the NFL. Jeff Ulbrich, who Atlanta ultimately hired, was the Falcons' interim defensive coordinator, while Morris was interim head coach for the final 11 games of 2020, and Ulbrich served as the New York Jets' defensive coordinator the past 3 seasons. Ulbrich later said the Falcons' interview wasn't 2 buddies chopping it up. Morris and company were thorough in their search, and Morris was intentional about conducting a lesson-filled process. "I got a chance to really visit with some great potential coordinator minds," Morris said. "To visit and sit down and talk to those guys and really pick their brains. Really have people with an opportunity to come here that can add to what we do. Have an opportunity to have guys that's called it in this league and have a lot of success. Being able to have all those guys sit down and talk with all those guys." I think it's something that you definitely wanted. It was so much fun to be able to get all these things going. So, I'm really excited about the process and how it went down. In the aftermath of his firing, Lake went back to the Los Angeles Rams, where he spent 2023 with Morris in an analyst role. The Falcons, meanwhile, went back to the well of familiarity, adding a coordinator in Ulbrich who spearheaded top 5 defenses in yards allowed during his final 3 years with the Jets. Ulbrich has many of the same traits that drew Morris to Lake. Morris and Ulbrich have worked together for a decade. Ulbrich brings experience and knowledge, Morris said. The difference? Ulbrich has experience leading a potent defense in the NFL. Atlanta hopes he'll do it again in 2025, which would surely lessen Morris' pain from letting Lake walk. And now, Dirty Birds fan, I want to hear from you. What's your opinion on this? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I don't know if you know this, but your opinion matters a lot for Dirty Birds. I'll be back any moment with more Dirty Birds news. ATL, ATL. Rise up!